housing crisis in Australia is getting worse. And while most people want to get into their first residential property, maybe there is a different solution that will actually help you to buy your first home sooner than you think. Now, most people think that when you start to accumulate and save up that deposit for your first house, that you're going to live in it or renovate it, sell it, and then or upgrade it, that you have to slave away for years and put away a deposit. Well, there are some really smart ideas that young investors are utilizing right now to get into their first home, residential home, or their first residential project. And that's actually utilizing commercial property and utilizing the strength in commercial property cash flow, but also using the 10x factor in flipping commercial property to actually help them buy their first forever home. Now, my name is Helen Tarrant. I help everyday Australians invest with security and confidence into the commercial property market. Since 2016, our motto is creating wealth together. And today I'm going to share with you how you can get into the residential property market through investing in commercial. Now, it's a little bit counterintuitive, but if you look at the history of people who really made it wealthy in this market, it's all those people who have actually invested counterintuitive to the market. While the market is strong for residential, they've invested in commercial. While the commercial market flattened out or tipped, they actually invested in residential. While people are trying to actually do builds, renos, and everything in residential, they're looking at commercial property flipping to actually increase their equity, to increase more deposit for them to get into residential. Now, what we're seeing at the moment is that even though the interest rates has come up, even though people now are doubling in their mortgage repayments, serviceability being stripped back by the banks, and that a deposit that used to be okay to buy a $500,000, $700,000 house or $1 million house if you want to be in Sydney or Melbourne is no longer possible, right? So what do you do to bulk up your deposits? What we're facing now is rising price of land because of scarcity and density of living. We're looking at rising costs of labor, rising costs of materials, so it doesn't make sense to build anymore and try to make that profit by flipping. So reno, demo, all of those things you used to do in residential isn't working. And even though people are still trying to do that through rooming houses and co-living spaces, what that ends up being is a lot of compliance and heartache and a lot of money in, not a lot of money out. So let me give you another solution. Now, if this solution works for you, and it may not be right for everybody, I want you to reach out to us and book in for a strategy session, because through that strategy session, we can personalize the commercial strategy for you to help you get into residential. Now, a lot of our clients who are starting out young in their 20s and 30s, wanting to get into their forever home, are struggling. So what we utilize for them is twofold. Number one, utilizing a little bit of their deposit to get into a cash flow property. Now, that may be a joint venture with someone else who is like-minded to bulk up the cash flow coming in. But if you can do it on your own, all the better. But never rule out in a community like we have as part of a Unikorn, one of the largest commercial property investor communities in Australia. You have other like-minded people who are just starting out investing with you, so you can access higher end properties with higher yields, right? It's all about the cash flow, because remember, it's a moment in time now. So in 2 to 3 years, if you can flip a property, or 2 to 3 years, you can sell a property for a higher value, you end up with more money in your pocket to buy a residential forever home, right? So what I'm talking about is a little bit of this, a little bit about delayed gratification. So if you're looking at getting a deposit and you don't have enough, let's say you have $100,000 or $200,000 in a deposit and you want to get started and get your forever home, which might be $1 million purchase, which you might need $300,000 or $400,000. And one of the best ways to do that is to actually buy a potentially, especially when you're young and you can service, an undervalued short leases or vacant commercial property, and looking at flipping that property. So what you do is you do a little bit of refurbishment. So let's say you've got 200 grand, you spend $150,000 in the purchase deposit, using that as deposit for the property. So the property might be between $400,000 to $500,000. You use the $50,000 to refurbish it or attract a new tenant. Then you have a tenant there paying you higher than market return. So typically these tenants in Metro might give you 7% or 8% return in terms of yield or cash flow, which means you get money in your pocket straight away. You go back to the bank, you either refinance, pull your money out and do it again, or you sell that property typically. So your $500,000 property now is probably worth $700,000. You can sell that property, get your $200,000 $200,000 back, plus an additional $200,000 minus some costs, holding costs, agents' commissions, taxes. You might end up with $150 in hand, $120 in hand. Now you've essentially almost added 50 to 60% to your deposit, and you can do that in a space of a year in commercial property, versus 2 or 3 years in residential, where you're heavily leveraged. So you're buying land and then you're borrowing on top of it. With commercial, it's really straightforward, right? Especially when you're young and you can service a debt, you can actually access properties that are undervalued on shorter leases, no leases, that need a refurbishment, put a new tenant in there, get the uplift creation, and sell, take that deposit and do it again. So round 2, you can do it again, but it's now slightly larger property, because now you have 320,000. You can use 250,000 rather than 150, right? Now you're buying a $700,000 property. That $700,000 property could become $900,000 or $1 million property, right? Now you have in hand yourself 320 from the first round. You might end up with 500,000. Now 500,000 allows you to go and buy a substantial residential property at $1 million or $1.2 million, which allows you to get into your almost forever home, right? Or an undervalued residential where you can maybe renovate it, create the value in there, pull the money out and do commercial again, right? And that's a much, much better and smarter idea to try to accumulate a rape and pinch, to try to get 300,000 to buy something where you're heavily mortgaged, where this way you actually learn the skill set of flipping in commercial property, plus you have the best of both worlds. You can utilize your residential property and your commercial property strategy to move faster. That's why if you want to bulk up your deposit, turn your $200,000 to $400,000 in a 12-month period to allow you to go again, or allow you to move to a residential property of your choice or somewhere another ladder up, then commercial property flipping is a must for you moving forward. So how does commercial property flipping work? Well, the essentials of it is you need to find the undervalued property. So that is looking counterintuitive to the market. While the market is chasing perfection, they want something with perfect tenants, long leases, beautifully new renovated. You are chasing the ugly duckling, the rundown heap, the terrible property with literally no leases and not renovated. And what you want to go in there is strip it back, renovate it, put in a tenant that loves the space, the location, everything else. And that could be a medical, allied health professional, trade tenant, any of those tenants on long leases, 3 to 5 year leases. Then flick it back into the market where there's so much demand for the perfection of a purely set and forget property that an investor want to invest in. So you're taking a seed, which is the old ugly duckling, and you're growing it. So you're taking them, you're grooming it, you're growing the tree, and as it grows the seed, you are then being able to sell the seed. But in the process of you doing it, you learn the skill set. But people ask, how much is your baseline level for investing something like that? Minimum around 400 to 500K is the purchase price of something that is small to start with. And that's maybe a vacant shop or an office space you can do up, or a vacant warehouse. Or you can go all the way up to probably, even 2 or 3 million that our clients are doing flips. But the main thing is you learn the skill set. And the skill set of some of the fundamental things is, how long would it take for you to get a tenant? So the time. What kind of incentives do you need to offer for a tenant? What does your investor want from their point of view? So when they come to buy your property again, what are they looking for? What is in demand in that area, or some areas not in demand? So is it retail more in demand compared to warehouses? Is it warehouses versus offices? What is more in demand in that area? And are you getting this property ready for an owner occupier or for an investor? Because sometimes the space is so large. For example, you take a whole floor of an office space and divide them into 60 to 80 square meters. It will be suitable for owner occupiers over an investor, right? But either way, you have the end in mind when you do it up. But areas, where would you go for these areas? Now, they exist all around Australia, but what we're looking for is pockets of areas where we can identify there's firstly a boom in the demand. So a lot of people population movement into the area. Secondly, we see a demand for services and trades in that area, and it's not being filled. So there's a lack of actual vacant properties there. But also when the vacant property comes up, all the tenants want to do is move in. There's a huge range of tenants wanting to move in, but they want to move in when the property is ready. They don't want a bare shell. They want you to do it up. So we're looking at that demand. We're also looking at how the value of that has changed. So you can see in some markets that commercial property are rising each month with the auction results and the sale results, that the value continues to go up, which means this is a perfect opportunity to get in. As you're seeing the value go up, you're doing the uplift yourself, and at the top of the ladder or the top of the market, you're able to flick that property on to get an exponential profits so that you can put into your next residential project. So working with commercial along with residential really complements what you want to do, and especially when you're young and you're having affordability crisis in terms of buying residential, think outside the box. Look at using commercial commercial flipping strategies to get you into your residential. And learning commercial, the knowledge and foundation of commercial, not only in set and forget, but in flipping, in investing through self-managed super fund, investing as a joint venture with other people on larger development or potential uplift projects, gives you the first hand and the upper hand in the market that allows you to tread the water and capitalize on both the residential and the commercial market as they change, right? And investing counterintuitive to what the market is doing really will help you get ahead. That means you can stay 20, 30, 40% ahead of the market. So if this video has impressed you, if you are looking to double your deposit in a short space of time so you can get into residential or another type of commercial property, or just accelerate your retirement journey, then Unikorn Commercial Property is here for you. We are creating wealth together, and it's all about you and us coming together to work out a strategy that works for you, getting clarity and executing that. So if you found this video interesting, worthwhile, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell, and also give us more comments about what else you want more of. But importantly, please join us for a free strategy session. So click the link and you can book in for a strategy session. Check out our book. So buy the book on cashed up commercial property, the definitive guide on commercial property, plus also join one of our upcoming free events. So I look forward to helping you in your commercial property journey. In the meantime, keep hunting and don't forget we are creating wealth together.